She didn't flinch when Tyler grabbed her wrist. She moved first. In one swift motion, she twisted his arm, dropped him to the gym floor, and turned the silence of the crowd into a stunned reckoning. No one laughed this time, and that's when Crestfield finally realized the quiet girl from Chicago wasn't here to be broken. Hi everyone, today we're telling the story of a girl who wasn't looking for a fight, but when she was cornered, she didn't run. She stood her ground. This could happen to anyone, even you, your granddaughter, or someone in your neighborhood. One moment you're just trying to get through the day. The next you're surrounded by whispers, assumptions, and pressure to either disappear or rise. So before we dive into the story, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you truly enjoy what I do here. And let me know in the comments where you're watching from and what time it is where you are. Now let's begin. The sun hadn't quite broken through the clouds when Ariel Moore sat silently in the passenger seat of her mother's worn-out Toyota Camry. The heater rattled but never quite worked, and the dashboard light blinked like it was tired of the cold too. Ariel stared out at Crestfield Middle School, a red brick building that looked clean, almost too clean. Large windows reflected the gray Ohio sky. The school stood like it had been planted there by people who didn't have to move, who didn't have to start over. Ariel adjusted the strap of her backpack. Her jeans were faded. Her coat was too thin. It was the best they had. She didn't complain. She never did. Her mom, Monique Moore, reached across and gently touched her shoulder. "Text me if anything's off, okay?" Her voice was steady, but her eyes lingered, scanning Ariel's face like a nurse checking for wounds only a mother could see. "You hear me, baby?" "I hear you," Ariel said. She opened the door. The cold air hit her like a quiet warning. As she stepped onto the sidewalk, the car didn't drive away immediately. Her mom watched until she disappeared through the front doors. Inside it was too quiet. Not silent, but charged. Like the room had just exhaled and was waiting to see what she'd do next. Ariel walked past clusters of kids she didn't know. Their conversations quieted when she passed. Some stared at her hair, a soft, neat afro puff. Others looked at her shoes scuffed from the walk to the bus stop back in Chicago. No one smiled. When she reached homeroom, every eye turned to her. She didn't speak, just scanned the room, found the third desk from the back, and sat. No hesitation, no invitation. "Who invited Wakanda?" a voice whispered, just loud enough for her to hear. The laugh that followed was weak, cowardly. Ariel didn't turn. She knew the type. Detroit, Chicago, every city had them. Kids who thought cruelty made them powerful. Later at lunch, she sat alone. Not by choice. No one asked her to join them. Her tray had overcooked tater tots and a slice of pizza that looked like it lost a fight. She took 2 bites and pushed it away. "You do voodoo or something?" a boy asked from another table. His Letterman jacket was too clean to be earned. Another voice added, "Bet she's got a chicken bone in that backpack." Ariel inhaled slowly through her nose. Steady. The teacher on duty looked away. She got up, dumped her tray, and walked out without a word. She didn't ask where the library was. She found it herself and stayed there until the bell rang. Quiet, focused, alone. By the end of that week, she'd mapped out the terrain. The ones who watched. The ones who whispered. The ones who laughed only when someone like Tyler Brandt smirked first. Tyler sat dead center in the cafeteria every day, like it was a throne, not a lunch table. Jocelyn Harker always at his side, lip gloss. Perfect sneakers, pristine cruelty polished. They didn't scream insults. They didn't need to. A look from them could turn a room. Ariel avoided them, stuck to the edges. Earbuds in even when nothing played, but they kept pushing, never all at once. Just enough to remind her she didn't belong. By Friday, someone had written ugly across her locker in marker. The letters were crooked, rushed, like whoever did it was scared to get caught, but not scared enough to stop. There was a smudged handprint beside it. She stared for 5 seconds. Then she pulled a tissue from her bag and wiped it off. No one asked if she was okay. No teacher offered help. She didn't tell the office. She didn't want to sit through another fake conversation where the counselor pretended to care and nothing changed by lunch. So she went to class. Quiet, steady, but under the surface the pressure built. That weekend her mom worked both days. Hospice care didn't stop for weekends. Ariel handled chores, homework, dishes. On Sunday night her mom left her a note under her dinner plate. "Don't let them steal your peace. You were made for more. Ariel kept it folded in her pocket the next day. Monday morning, Tyler walked by her desk and knocked her binder to the ground. Oops, he said with a shrug. She picked it up, said nothing. That afternoon in the girls' locker room, Jocelyn said loudly, "Some people just smell off, like grease and old socks." The girls giggled. One looked uncomfortable but stayed silent. Ariel tied her shoes without a word. But something shifted. That night she walked home instead of taking the bus. It was cold. She didn't care. The wind felt like truth. When she got home, Monique was in the kitchen, scrubbing dishes in silence. "You good?" she asked. Yeah, Ariel lied. Just a long day. Monique didn't push. She just pulled her daughter into a quiet hug. No speeches, just warmth. It was the only part of the day that didn't feel like a battle. But even a quiet girl can only stay silent so long. Tuesday morning began like the rest. Overcast sky, thin coat earbuds in. But Ariel's mind wasn't still anymore. The silence she had wrapped herself in like armor was starting to itch. She walked into Crestfield Middle and felt it eyes tracking her. But this time, not just with mockery. Some looked curious, others cautious. Tyler's stunt with her binder hadn't been dramatic, but it had been public. Ariel wasn't sure what they were waiting for, but she felt the weight of it. In social studies, she kept her head down. Mr. Lyman droned about the Revolutionary War, but Ariel wasn't thinking about freedom. She was thinking about control, the kind you lose when people think you won't fight back. The kind you give up when you're afraid to speak. She wasn't afraid, not really, just waiting. That night, while heating up leftover spaghetti, her hand brushed the edge of the fridge and knocked off a photo. She picked it up, her and Uncle Damon on the porch back in Chicago, her tiny fists in boxing gloves too big for her wrists. She had forgotten that picture was still on the fridge. Damon was never one for big speeches. But after a girl named Sierra had pushed Ariel in 5th grade and called her ghetto trash, he hadn't said, "Tell the teacher." He'd said, "Put these on." That night she remembered every word. You don't throw the first punch, but if someone brings it to your feet, you finish it. She didn't want to fight, but she was tired of being hunted. After dinner, she slipped on her old hoodie, stepped out into the chilly backyard, and raised her fists. The grass was damp. The porch light buzzed. She took her stance. Left jab, reset, right hook. Breathe again. She didn't think about Tyler. She didn't think about Jocelyn. She thought about that moment behind the auditorium when Tyler had stepped too close and she told him to back up. He had laughed, but he had backed up. Not because he was scared, but because he didn't expect her to say anything at all. That laugh had stuck to her skin for days. In her head, she replayed every small humiliation. The gum under her desk, the whisper about her voice, the girl who slid her books off the table when Ariel tried to sit near. The look on the teacher's face when she said nothing and cleaned the marker off her locker herself. None of them expected her to do anything, and that she realized was the point. They were betting on her silence. At school, the next few days blurred together. Tyler didn't do anything big, but his presence lingered. In the hall, she started to notice who stood near him, who laughed the loudest, who only laughed once he did. Patterns. She noticed Jocelyn always sat with her back to the cafeteria wall, like she wanted to see the whole room. She noticed that one of her friends, Nina, always hesitated before she joined the laughter. There was something in Nina's eyes that looked like regret. By Thursday, Ariel's locker had been left open 3 times. Once her science book was stuffed inside upside down with pages bent. She didn't react, but she was documenting. Not on paper, just in her head. When you're the only one like you in the room, you learn to read it differently. Body language becomes language. Silence becomes noise. Ariel was fluent in both. That afternoon, the wind picked up. Students rushed out of school like they had somewhere better to be. Ariel took her time. She didn't want to wait for the bus. She didn't want the crowded walk home either. So she slipped around the back toward the side entrance near the gym. That's where it happened. Tyler and 2 other boys, Logan and Reese, stood there laughing about something Ariel couldn't hear. She wasn't trying to listen. She just wanted to walk past. "Hey," Tyler called out. "You training for something? You walk like a boxer." She didn't stop. "You mad 'cause nobody talks to you," he added. "Maybe we're just scared of that black girl rage." That did it. She turned around. Not fast. Not with anger. Just steady. Back up, she said again. Same tone as before. Calm. Clear. Logan snorted. Reese muttered. You gonna let her talk to you like that? Tyler stepped forward, smirk in place. You think that makes you tough? Ariel didn't answer. She didn't have to, because the moment had already shifted. They were waiting for her to snap, to get loud, to swing. She didn't. She just stood there, fists at her side, breathing slow. Tyler leaned in like he was going to whisper something slick, but before he could, Ariel tilted her head. You finished? She asked. That hit him harder than a punch. He blinked. His mouth opened. Closed. Then for a second she saw something else in his eyes. Not fear, not even anger. Uncertainty. He backed off. Didn't say a word. Ariel walked past him without looking back. But she knew. It wasn't over. The storm hadn't passed. It was circling. And storms don't pass quietly. Gym class the next week felt different. Ariel could feel it from the moment she laced up her sneakers in the locker room. The air was too quiet. Jocelyn was unusually quiet too, only murmuring to one girl, no jokes, no insults. Tyler hadn't said a word since the encounter behind the gym, but that didn't mean he was done. When they filed into the gymnasium, Coach Riley had them warm up with sprints across the basketball court. Ariel ran hard, not to prove anything, just to focus her breath, to feel the ground under her feet. It helped her think. She noticed Tyler lagging near the bleachers, whispering to Logan and Reese. Her stomach tightened, but she didn't show it. Midway through class, Coach Riley was called out into the hallway for a phone call. Keep running drills, he barked, the whistle around his neck bouncing as he stepped out. That was the moment. It was always when no adults were watching. Ariel was collecting basketballs from the corner when Logan suddenly stepped in front of her path, bouncing a ball lazily. Hey, he grinned. Teach me that Detroit ninja stuff. Reese laughed like it was the funniest thing he'd ever heard. She ignored them, tried to step around, but Tyler appeared from behind a beam chewing gum, like he had all the time in the world. You think that little stare down last week meant something, he asked. You think people are scared of you? Now Ariel said nothing, just breathed. Tyler stepped closer, the smirk gone. I bet you can't even swing twice. He reached for her wrist. That was the wrong move. Ariel didn't hesitate. Her hand snapped out quick, firm, grabbing his wrist and twisting just enough to make him yelp. She let go immediately, no dragging it out. Just a statement, you don't get to touch me. Tyler stumbled back, face flushed, not from pain, but humiliation. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't flinch. I told you, she said steady. Don't touch me. Tyler's lips twisted. You're dead, he snapped and lunged at her. She didn't run. She ducked, sidestepped, and grabbed his shoulder, using his own momentum to send him skidding into the bleachers. Reese moved next, clumsier. She stepped into him, low elbow to his ribs, not hard but firm. He staggered. Logan, he froze. Just stood there, eyes wide. Then Coach Riley's voice boomed from the entrance. Hey, what is going on? Everything stopped. Tyler was on the floor, groaning. Reese clutched his side. Ariel stood shoulders up, fists lowered but ready. The gym was silent. Every student was staring, not out of curiosity, out of shock. They'd never seen Tyler Brandt lose before. Not like this. Coach Riley barked orders, told the boys to head to the office, told Ariel to follow. She didn't argue. She just walked, quietly, steady. In the main office, she sat in a plastic chair. The lights overhead buzzed. The receptionist barely looked at her. 10 minutes passed. Then Principal Howland appeared. He looked tired already. Inside, he said. She followed him into his office. He shut the door. You want to tell me what that was about, he asked, sitting behind his desk. Ariel met his eyes. I told him not to touch me. He waited, pen tapping. Anything else, he asked. She didn't answer. She didn't need to. He sighed. Tyler's father is already on his way. Do you understand what kind of problem this creates? I didn't start anything, Ariel said. He leaned back. Look, I know it's not easy being the new kid, especially coming from a different environment. But there are protocols. You report bullying. You don't take matters into your own hands. I tried that, she said softly. It didn't work. He blinked. The phone rang. He picked it up, listened, then looked at her. Wait outside. She stepped into the hallway. Tyler and his father were already there. His dad, tall, red-faced in a stiff button-down shirt, was pacing, gesturing wildly. She attacked him. In the middle of class, Ariel sat across from them, back straight. Tyler didn't look at her. He kept his eyes on the floor. When the door opened again, the district rep had arrived, a woman in her 40s with a sharp gray suit and a tablet in hand. They filed in. Ariel and her mother sat on one side of the table. Tyler and his father sat on the other. Principal Howland started the meeting. Let's be clear, this is a serious matter. Tyler's dad jumped in. My son was attacked. This girl doesn't belong here. Monique didn't move. She just tilted her head slightly. He cornered my daughter, she said calmly. Twice, with no adult in sight. Don't give me that the father started. Monique raised her hand. You want to yell, fine, but you won't rewrite the truth. The counselor tried to cut in. Let's try to. No, Monique said. Let's not soften it. You've had complaints. My daughter stayed silent, hoping it would stop. It didn't. Principal Howland looked uneasy. The district rep narrowed her eyes. Ariel, she said, would you like to explain what happened? Ariel took a breath. They made fun of my hair, my voice, my clothes. They called me things, pushed me, wrote on my locker. I didn't react. I stayed quiet. Tyler scoffed. No one threw anything. You threw a soda can, she said. You grabbed my wrist, behind the gym. You made it physical. The district rep looked over at Howland. Is there any camera footage? No cameras behind the gym, he admitted. Monique nodded slowly. Of course not. But now that she defended herself, it's suddenly urgent. The room went quiet. The rep finally spoke. It's clear this isn't just about one incident. It's about how we've been documenting and responding to peer conflict, especially when students don't feel safe enough to report. Tyler's father stood up. So that's it. You're siding with them. No one's taking sides, the rep said. We're acknowledging facts. He muttered something under his breath and stormed out. Tyler followed. He didn't glance back. Monique and Ariel sat still. Principal Howland looked like the wind had been knocked out of him. Monique smoothed her blouse, stood up, and shook the district rep's hand. I'm not asking for special treatment, she said. Just fairness. You'll have it, the woman replied. I promise. Ariel didn't feel like she'd won. But for the first time since she got to Crestfield, she felt heard. By Monday, the story had already outgrown the facts. There weren't photos, no videos. But rumors moved faster than reason ever could. Some said Ariel body-slammed Tyler and his crew and walked away without breaking a sweat. Others whispered she had trained with some underground fight club in Chicago. Someone even claimed she'd broken his wrist. None of that was true. But truth didn't matter nearly as much as perception, and what people believed now was very different from what they believed a week ago. Ariel walked the hall with the same stride, same hoodie, same silence. But the air around her had changed. No one blocked her path anymore. Eyes followed her, not with mockery, but with something closer to caution. Respect. Maybe even a little fear. Jocelyn still tossed her hair when they passed each other, but her insults had lost their bite. They floated into the air like rehearsed lines from a script no one cared to watch. Her circle of friends still lingered, but their laughter came too late, too forced. Even Tyler kept to himself. The busted lip from the gym had faded, but the silence stuck. He didn't sneer, didn't approach, didn't challenge her again. And then something unexpected happened. After math class, as Ariel opened her binder, a folded slip of paper fell from between her notes. She frowned, picked it up, unfolded it. 5 simple words scrawled in uneven pencil, I saw. I'm sorry. No name. No hint who left it. She stared at it for a long time. Didn't smile, didn't cry. Just folded it again and tucked it into the same pocket where she kept her mom's old note about peace. That day at lunch, she sat in her usual corner. Alone by habit, not by force. But something was shifting. 2 tables away, a girl she recognized from Jocelyn's crowd, a tall brunette named Marissa, walked by with her tray and muttered barely above a whisper, I liked your drawing in art class. Ariel blinked, didn't reply. She didn't need to. Some things didn't require answers, just space. By Wednesday, she'd noticed more students acting differently. A boy who used to mimic her voice under his breath now looked away when they passed in the hall. Another girl held the door open without being asked. It wasn't sudden. It wasn't perfect. But the rules of Crestfield were changing. Coach Riley pulled her aside after gym that day. I had to file a report, he said, eyes flicking between his clipboard and her face. Routine. Won't go on your record. Ariel nodded. I should have seen it coming, he added, voice lower. I'll be watching more closely now. She didn't say anything, but she appreciated that. Adults rarely said it out loud. In English class, Miss Atwood introduced a new project. We're starting a campaign, she said. It's about voice. Stories that matter. Stories that are real. Some students shifted in their seats. We want anonymous submissions, she continued. Write what you've seen, what you've lived, no sugarcoating. For a moment, no one moved. Then a hand went up, then two more. By the end of the week, the submission box outside the library was full. Miss Atwood posted one piece on the bulletin board. It read, she told him to back off. He didn't listen, so she made him. No name, no signature. But no one had to ask. Everyone knew. Ariel stood in front of that board after class, not out of pride, but because the truth finally had a place to sit. That afternoon, as she gathered her things for the bus, a younger girl, maybe 6th grade, tapped her on the shoulder. She had long braids and nervous hands. I saw what they did to you, she whispered. By the gym. I wanted to say something, but she trailed off. Ariel nodded. It's okay. I'm sorry, the girl said. Then she was gone. 2 words. I'm sorry. And they sat on Ariel's chest like a weight, but this time a warm one. At home, Monique was already at the kitchen table, a letter in her hand. What's this I hear about a fight, she asked, not raising her voice. Ariel sat across from her. They cornered me again, she said. I didn't start it, but I finished it. Monique stared at her for a long moment. Then she folded the letter and placed it gently on the table. Good, she said. Now eat. You're too small to be tossing boys into bleachers on an empty stomach. Ariel laughed. Not a smirk. Not polite. A real laugh. The first one in weeks. But they both knew this wasn't over. She had stood her ground. Now she had to hold it. The following week brought something Ariel hadn't experienced since she first walked through Crestfield's doors. Breathing room. It wasn't peace, not quite, but it was a kind of space, a kind of quiet that didn't feel like punishment. The hallways, once lined with eyes that burned like lasers on her back, now carried more stolen glances than stares. No more locker slurs, no gum in her seat. Tyler stayed distant. Jocelyn still tried to toss her casual remarks. Whatever, it's not like anyone cares what she thinks, but the words came out empty, like they were missing an audience. Even the girls who used to echo her laughter began drifting. One now sat at a different lunch table, entirely scribbling in a sketchbook. Another switched seats in math class. At lunch, Ariel took her usual spot. This time, the table wasn't completely empty. Shelby, a soft-spoken 7th grader with glasses and a habit of tucking her hair behind her ears, sat 2 seats away. She unpacked a turkey sandwich and a notebook. Miss Atwood said she liked your piece, she murmured. Ariel raised her eyebrows slightly. It wasn't signed. Shelby smiled shyly. Didn't have to be. They didn't talk much that day. But Shelby returned the next. And the next. By the end of the week, 2 more students had joined the table, not out of pity, not to make a scene, just to sit, just to be near someone who had drawn a line and hadn't wavered. The submission box outside the library kept filling. Miss Atwood began posting more stories. One read, he laughed when I cried. Then she stood up, and he didn't laugh anymore. Another read, I watched her walk away, but this time I wanted to follow. The voices were changing, not louder but more real. In art class, Mr. Sato asked them to sketch an emotion using no faces, just symbols, motion or shape. Ariel didn't hesitate. She drew a pair of hands, one clenched in a fist, one open, between them a storm cloud breaking into light. When Mr. Sato picked up the drawing, he paused. This yours, he asked. Ariel nodded. What's it called? She thought for a second. The line. He nodded once, said no more, but he pinned it to the classroom bulletin board. That night at home, Monique noticed the sketch Ariel had taped above her bed. This one's new, she said, wiping down the counter. Ariel nodded. Yeah, you name it. Ariel leaned against the doorway, arms crossed. The line. Monique looked at it for a long moment, then nodded. Good name. They didn't talk much over dinner. They didn't need to. There was something in the quiet now that felt earned, not forced. That weekend, they did something they hadn't done in months. They went grocery shopping together, just the two of them. A quiet drive down Route 23, a playlist of old soul music humming through the speakers. Ariel watched the trees slide past her window. The world still looked gray, but it didn't feel heavy. As they loaded the trunk, Monique turned the music down and said, You know, Ariel looked up. Your uncle would have been proud. Ariel looked back at the pavement. I didn't fight to win, she said quietly. I fought so I wouldn't disappear. Monique reached over, squeezed her hand. That was all. Monday came again, same building, same brick walls, same sound of the morning bell echoing through the halls. But something had changed, because Ariel had changed it, not by yelling, not by begging, just by standing still when the world tried to shove her aside. She walked to homeroom the same way she always did, head up, earbuds and backpack slung low. She passed Tyler by the lockers. He looked at her, no smirk, no insult, just a long, silent glance. Then he looked away. She didn't follow. She didn't need to. She had nothing left to prove. In Miss Atwood's class, the whiteboard read, Resilience. Give an example from real life. No one moved at first. Then from the far side of the room, a boy raised his hand. Skinny glasses, the kind of kid no one usually noticed. He glanced at Ariel. She didn't run, he said. She stood up. Miss Atwood looked at Ariel. You okay with that? Ariel considered it for a moment, then nodded. Yeah, she said. I'm okay with that. Sometimes the fight we think we're avoiding isn't a fight at all, it's a test. A test of our ability to draw a line and stand behind it. Ariel Moore didn't walk into Crestfield to start a revolution. She just wanted to make it through the year without becoming invisible. But the truth is, when you carry yourself with quiet dignity, when you refuse to let people chip away at your identity, you start to teach others something too. You teach them that silence isn't weakness, that being still isn't surrender. That respect once earned is more powerful than popularity. The world isn't always fair. Schools aren't always safe. And power isn't always held by those who deserve it. But that's why stories like this matter. Because when someone like Ariel draws a line and refuses to be pushed past it, she doesn't just protect herself, she clears a path for others. To those of you listening right now, maybe you've had a moment like this, or maybe you've seen someone else go through it. Maybe you kept your head down, or maybe you spoke up. Either way, your story matters. You matter. So the next time someone tries to tell you who you are, remember this. You don't have to swing first, but you never have to swing soft.